Alright, man, peace. So, brothers, this is probably going to be volume 1 in a new series that I want to start called Are Black Men Responsible for Police Brutality? And in this series, every time a situation similar to the topic of this video occurs, I just want to go through step by step exactly what transpired so that we gain a greater understanding as to why what occurred, and how possibly we can avoid situations like that when we have interactions with law enforcement, should that ever occur or transpire. It's very important that brothers understand that it's not just up to the police to conduct themselves with a level of comportment and decorum and responsibility. It's also up to us as well as, number one, human beings, number two, as adults. There's this notion and sentiment being pushed by many of the wokeities and the liberals, whether they be so-called white or so-called black, that it's only incumbent upon the police to conduct themselves with a level of respect for others. It's the civic duty of all quote-unquote citizens to conduct themselves with respect for themselves and respect for others. Because what you'll find is that so many situations can be avoided if you understand how to actually respect the humanity of the next person, no matter what their so-called race or color or religion or what have you. There has to be a divide there between your personal opinion of someone's allegiances or how they conduct themselves, their sexuality, whatever it is, and your knowledge that you have enough value for your own life that it's not worth engaging in a meaningless interaction or altercation or confrontation with someone when you have better things to do. The so-called black man a lot of times has a very low level of value for himself and for his future. So sometimes he's willing to throw it all away just so that he can project his anger on someone else because of the fact that he was never told how special he is and what he can accomplish in his life. So he's always amped up and looking for someone to go back and forth with. And when I say he, I'm not talking about all so-called black men. I'm talking about the ones who were not raised properly or who might not have an upright spirit because they were not told or taught about themselves, their history, and their possible future. So in this video, we're going to be evaluating a police altercation that occurred between a football player with the Kansas City Chiefs, Bashaud Breeland, and of course a police officer, which in my view could have been avoided. Bashaud Breeland was, I won't say he was pulled over or detained. He basically was stopped from re-entering his vehicle because he was found to be high on marijuana. Now, even though many states are starting to legalize marijuana, in certain states it is still illegal. And if you're found to be smoking it, they can stop you. And in the event or the case that you're stopped or detained by a police officer, whether it be for smoking or drinking, you do have to abide by the laws of the land. Because if you choose not to, it could result in the loss of your life. There was an incident that occurred a couple of years ago with a bench player of the Milwaukee Bucks by the name of Sterling Brown. And in that video, I showed how he decided that he was going to go to, I believe it was a Walgreens or one of those pharmacies late at night. And because he had such a sense of entitlement, he parked in a handicapped spot because it was the closest to the pharmacy. I think it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. It was a 24-hour pharmacy, I'm guessing. Must have been. So he goes in there, he gets whatever product he needs, he comes back down, and the police are waiting for him because they've ticketed his vehicle. There's only 2 cops there, though. 2 or 3 cops, maybe. And instead of him just accepting the citation, he wants to argue with the police. The situation escalates, and next thing you know, he's getting tased for a situation that he was wrong about. And that's part of this sense of entitlement that certain people have. In the case of Bashaud Breeland and Sterling Brown, professional athletes who think that their shit doesn't stink because they're so accustomed to getting their way. But many so-called black men start to deal with the police in that way because of the trickle-down effect of seeing athletes conduct themselves that way or being pumped up and hyped up by social media and the internet into thinking that there's never a reason to be held accountable for your actions. The law is the law. If your vehicle is found parked in a handicapped spot or a handicapped zone, just take the ticket and go. You're making hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions, even as a bench player in the NBA. Just pay the ticket and say you're wrong. Instead, Sterling Brown decided that he was going to go back and forth with the police become cantankerous and he could have lost his life because they tased him. What if he had a heart condition? You have a heart condition, you get tased, you might have a heart attack. Just dumb shit. This person here, Bashaud Breeland, as we're about to see, this could have been another scenario that may have went totally left, totally awry, and he could have been shot as well. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Welcome back to the show. Some NFL news for you. A video of a terrifying arrest situation involving a Kansas City Chiefs player. There's no resolution. Now, back in April, we showed you this video of Bashaud Breeland. He is the defensive back for the Kansas City Chiefs. He had a key interception in the Super Bowl to help the Chiefs beat the 49ers. He's a pretty good player, too. But he was at a gas station in South Carolina back in April.
And as we can see, the quote-unquote police officer, or the security guard, I'm guessing this is, because it says security on the back of his vest, is a so-called black man. It's not a so-called white man, and I'm sure that many people might say, well, it doesn't matter. Even if it's a black cop, they can still be oppressive to their own people, so on and so forth. Many times we create our own oppression because we oppress ourselves with our poor conduct and our poor mental outlook, especially with our lack of understanding when it comes to the concept of repercussions. Everything that we do is going to create a repercussion.
Police officer rolled up and suspected Bashaud of smoking weed at the gas station, which you're not allowed to do. When he went and approached Bashaud, he said he also saw alcohol in the car. And when he went to talk to him and basically detain him.
Cats have to understand that when a police officer is trying to detain you and you decide that you're just going to get into the car, even if it's in your mind that it's your vehicle and you're just going to drive away or whatever it is that you plan to do, they have no idea what's in your vehicle. So you could get in your vehicle and in their mind, you're going in there to reach for a gun. Even though the mainstream liberal media loves to show people like Jacob Blake getting shot in the back, there are many more videos of police officers pulling someone over and getting their face blasted off. So brothers must understand that it goes both ways. And the easiest thing to do is to comply just so that you can move on with your life. That's the most important thing to me. Do you have enough value in your own future to understand the importance of moving forward with your life and avoiding silly, dumb shit, frivolous shit that's not going to last long in the grand scheme of things? There's an old term called making a mountain out of a molehill. Why do that?
You can see in the video, Bashaud resisted. And things got so testy between Bashaud and the officer that the officer at one point actually pulled out his gun. And you can hear witnesses in the...
And no disrespect to Bashaud Breeland. He's probably a woke nigga. You know, dude's probably woke. Woke people are mentally unstable. They're always trying to go back and forth with others for no damn reason.
Station screaming at Bashaud, please, for the love of God, comply with the officer. We don't want to see anybody get shot here. This is a scary situation for both parties, because if you're Bashaud and you see a cop pulling a gun on you, oh my God, how scary. And also, if you're an officer,
he doesn't seem scared to me. He seems very ignorant.
You see a man that you're trying to detain go back into his car. You don't know what's in the car. So this was
another issue, and I'm not going to try to claim to know Mr. Bashaud Breeland's background. But many times, because so many young so-called black men are being raised without fathers, they don't respond well to a man giving them orders or instructions. I'm just talking about in everyday life. They're accustomed to being given instructions or orders by ma or grandma. When they finally encounter a man who's giving them harsh instructions, things that in their view they've been told are demeaning or emasculating, just following basic orders, they rebel against it, especially once they've been fed the Kool-Aid of all police are Klan members. And don't get it twisted, do the KKK or skinheads join many of these law enforcement groups so that they can try to oppress so-called black people? Of course. But is every police officer a KKK member? No. And until they show you their fangs, it's best to be on your best behavior so that you can end the altercation as soon as possible. Hopefully. You never know what tomorrow's going to bring. You might get pulled over by a damn Klans member. Hopefully the Most High is with you. But you just cannot assume that everyone is trying to put you back in the cotton field. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Potentially explosive situation that really grabbed a lot of attention because of this video. So take a look.
Now, when the police officer tried to close the front door, Bashaud Breeland sees that he's being recorded, and he asked the person recording, "Did you see this?" And the person recording is even trying to instruct him and help him by saying, "Just follow the instructions, dude."
Yo, don't go in the car. Just chill. Just chill.
Oh my God, Sharif. Oh my God. Oh my God, Sharif, get back.
Yo, put your...
Please, Sharif, get back.
Hey, chill.
Oh, please, I don't want to be a witness to this, please.
Yeah, I mean, that is just a intense scene at the gas station. Yeah.
You don't want to be a witness to that? What, a dumb nigga putting his own life on the line? I say this all the time. I couldn't be a police officer, man, because I don't have time to deal with the stupidity of others. I can't deal with that. And you encounter so many stupid people on the daily, especially as a civil servant. I can imagine how many times people like a Bashaud Breeland pop up who just think that their shit don't stink and they should never have to follow anyone's instructions, no matter what rules they infract upon. And I'm not saying that the brother would have deserved to get shot if the police officer shot him necessarily, but so-called black man, you have to understand that the world does not revolve around you. And a lot of that brothers are learning from their mothers, because women by nature think that the whole fucking world revolves around them. So they're teaching that to their children, to be perpetual victims and to think that the world revolves around them. It doesn't. The only thing that revolves around you is you and what you create with your bare fucking hands. That's it.
Was hit with several criminal charges. You know, he ultimately was taken into custody without any further issue. But like, man, tell me you watched that video. There's no way you watched that video and didn't like tense up for a little bit. Because
I didn't tense up. Maybe it's because of where I'm from. I've seen altercations and confrontations and shit my whole life. So I mean, it's another day at the beach for me. But when I see shit like this, I just see a situation that could have been avoided and could possibly have been catastrophic had this security guard or police officer, whatever the hell he is, have been someone who really had an itchy trigger finger.
especially with what's been going on in society lately, like that's a lot.
That's definitely a lot. I was like nervous the whole time. It's because just, and a lot of people always ask this is just a random person videoing it, right? Like that was just somebody random, because a lot of people talk about this. This is the same way we see a lot of other problems that don't like police encounters that don't end well. That was dangerous on his part. Honestly, you don't get back in your car. There was a lot going on there. So
Right, but here's my issue. You acknowledge that it was dangerous on his part to try to get back in his car, but then you guys try to make Jacob Blake out to be a victim. I'm sorry, it's unfortunate what happened to the cat, but this dude fought 3 cops, shrugs off a taser, and then runs back into his front seat. They don't know what he's going in there to get. So once again, so-called black man, we have to operate on a higher level of comportment and intelligence. Cats cannot keep calling themselves kings and gods and all this other shit and continue to conduct themselves like children.
Situation ended well means that's great on the police department's part there, because that's a dangerous situation.
Yeah,
I was literally holding my breath the whole time.
Yeah. Thank God nobody was hurt. But here's what happened. So he was hit with several criminal charges off the bat, including resisting arrest, drug possession, all this other stuff. But now we've learned that Breeland, who's 28 years old, by the way, has cut a deal with prosecutors in which he agreed to plead guilty to public disorderly conduct and possession of marijuana less than 28 grams, first offense. And in exchange, prosecutors agreed to drop his driving with an open container of alcohol charge, as well as resisting arrest and driving.
I'm sorry, man, not to judge the brother, but sometimes you can look at people's countenance and you could tell they just not too damn swift. There's certain cats that I see, I'm like, man, thank goodness the Most High blessed them to be able to play football or basketball, because if not, who knows what the hell they be doing.
License charge. And as his punishment goes, he was ordered to pay $200 in fines and agreed to a 30 days.
Cat look like ODB's long lost son. This brother right here look like old dirty bastard's long lost son, young dirty bastard.
Jail sentence, which means that he has to pay that $200 in fines there's a 30-day window after the judgment comes down. If he doesn't pay, within that 30-day period, he'll have to do 30 days in jail. But he can afford. He's rich. He can afford that. That's nothing.
He's making I think he's making like $4.5 million this year. I think.
Yeah, he's got that. That's walking around with $200.
Yeah.
No, that's not no damn walking around money. I don't know why people keep saying that. $4 million a year, and the average NFL player ain't gonna play but 4 or 5 years. He better save his damn money. Hell, maybe he could start a weed dispensary or something like that. But he better save his damn money and make sure that he's not giving it out to fake friends and opportunistic so-called family members. That's what he better do.
Money, and he's essentially off the hook. But look, this could have been so much worse, and it seems like everybody has learned a lesson here, right?
I hope so. I hope that Bashaud has learned a lesson. I'm not quite sure if the police officer learned the lesson or had to. He has to defend his life. He might have a family at home that he wants to get back to.
Hopefully you've learned a lesson. If you were the officer, if you're other police department, you're watching this. This is like game film. Right after a game, you watch.
That's why I like going over this footage. I like going over these type of situations so that we can pick apart exactly what transpired and why. That's the only relevance to watching quote-unquote game footage, to gain an understanding as to why something happened and how we can get it to either not occur or get it to reoccur if it's something good that happened.
The tape and you say, okay, what did everybody do right and wrong here? Nobody ended up being hurt here, but everybody.
And brothers, look, none of us are perfect. You never know what's going to happen. You could be having a bad day and get an asshole cop and things start to escalate. Who the hell knows what can happen? But we have to try to start to foresee some of these situations or events in real time so that we can respond a bit better. That's the only way that we're going to be able to preserve our lives. Because none of these other groups or demographics give a fuck about the so-called black man. I don't care how much they act. Liberal Caucasians, liberal black women, they don't give a fuck about your life at all. And none of these other demographics do either. So we have to figure out how to conduct ourselves in a better way for self-preservation.
Learn something from this. Do you guys agree?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, look, you could hear it in the woman's voice who was narrating the situation.
Yeah.
I think it looked like this for a moment was really going to end in a bad way with somebody getting hurt, maybe somebody losing their life. But I think Bashaud ended up complying. I think the police officer stayed calm, did not overreact. And at the end of the day, Bashaud Breeland can pay $200. He can continue being a great football player. And most importantly, nobody got hurt and nobody lost their life, and that's how these situations should end.
But anyway, that's basically it on that, brothers. Hopefully Bashaud Breeland will have learned from this situation, and in the event that he encounters another police officer down the line, he'll have a bit more discretion, because this could have went real bad. So peace.